Cats have not only been with humans throughout history, but have actually had a role in shaping it. An example of this is the Battle of Pelusimus. Joshua Mark wrote in the Ancient History Encyclopedia about this battle. It was actually between the Persians and the Egyptians. The Persians wanted to overtake Egyptian land. In an attempt to do this, they charged at the Egyptians, surrounded by the Egyptians' beloved cats. The Egyptians, in fear of hurting the cats, refused to fight, therefore losing the battle and also losing their land. Cats are interesting creatures who have a rich, fascinating history. Cats have an interesting development from past to present. The beginning of cats as we know it usually starts with the idea of domestication. Cats then are prominent throughout the span of history and through many different cultures. Lastly, cats have been beloved pets of many famous, world-changing people across time. Let us trace through this rich history and start at the beginning. Usually the start of history for the cats as we know starts with the idea of domestication. Domestication is actually the training and breeding of animals for more of human use. Now, I would assume for cats, that means as pets, because I don't really know what else they would be good for. David Zaks from the Smithsonian describes the first domesticated cat, well, the evidence of the first domesticated cat ever found. And this was actually 9500 BCE. This cat was discovered on the island of Cyprus in a human tomb. From the evidence collected, suggested that this cat was not only domesticated, but was the pet of the owner that had been buried there with him. Other evidence suggests that cats as pets may even have been from longer ago, like 100,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. This evidence comes from genetic studies, and it's not sure what we can say about that and how much that means as cats as far as domesticated or were they more wild kind of thing. But either way, it's an interesting fact. Regardless of the exact inception of the domesticated cat, these animals were created and named for themselves across many different cultures. So they've existed over a broad span of history in many different areas. A prime example of this was in Egypt. One of the cats was the most primary animals of this time in this era. The Egyptians actually had many gods and goddesses and a few different deities of all different kinds. One of the most prominent was a cat goddess, and she was the most beloved and most prayed to in that area. In Egypt, it was also illegal not only to kill, but also to transport cats. The punishment for this was death. So it wasn't something you really wanted to take lightly. Now, while Egypt really had a lot of important bases of cats, we don't also want to neglect the other areas of the world where cats were important. Some examples are Japan, Greece, and Britain. Many folklores and myths stem from all of those areas about cats and are embedded in those cultures as well. Now, we could spend all day talking about the different cultures that exist and how cats have been a part of those. But for today, and for the sake of time, we're just going to understand that cats are a part of many different types of culture over a long span of time. The domesticated feline developed into somewhat of a muse for certain artists over time as well. Many famous people have had their cats and held them in high esteem. Maureen Kennedy's article, 25 Strange Yet Interesting Facts About Cats, is a good example of this. She describes how Isaac Newton, who, if most will remember, was the person who coined the term for gravity, actually had a cat, and it was one of his most prized possessions. He was also the first person to create the cat door, because he got tired of going in, up and down, in and out, to let his cat in and out all day. That way he actually get some stuff done in his lab. Maybe that's what helped him figure out what gravity was. Guess we'll never know. Another example is Charles Dickens. He was a huge cat fan and enjoyed having his cat around while he wrote and did his work. Well, apparently his cat wasn't such a fan of him doing his work there. He didn't like anyone who knows cats, didn't like having his attention off on something else. So the cat would get in the way. Apparently it ended up working out okay because he got his works out and is famous to this day, but the cat was still along for the ride. Some other examples were Mark Twain, William Wordsworth, John Keats, and Thomas Hardy. All of those were also described by Mark. Pet cats have been present in important moments throughout history and with some of the brightest minds. Cats are clearly interesting creatures who have a rich, fascinating history. A summation of cat history begins with domestication and early development of cats. From here, it is important to describe how these cats have developed across cultures. Lastly, cats have been involved with many famous individuals who have created some really great things in us over the time. Our devotion to our feline friends has shifted over time, with an example like Pelusimus to us now who want to push around our cats in cat strollers. Either way, our love for cats is undeniable. Thank you.